Significance of digital diplomacy for climate diplomacy. Envisioning a sustainable future. Climate change. Impact on human security. The urgency of climate action. Rising global temperatures. Increasing extreme weather events. Ocean acidification and biodiversity loss. Resource depletion and pollution. Individual and collective action. To save our environment through climate mitigation strategy, climate change adaptation to build climate resilience and to achieve sustainable development goals. Reduce global carbon footprint. Policy advocacy at different forums. Raising voices for climate justice and finance. The role of governments. Global and AMP, National Action Plan for Achieving Net Zero through International Collaboration. Public diplomacy plays an important role. Digital diplomacy. And AMP, climate diplomacy part of the public diplomacy. What is digital diplomacy? Digital diplomacy, also known as e-diplomacy or cyber diplomacy, refers to the use of digital technologies and social media platforms by governments, international organizations, and diplomats etc. to achieve diplomatic objectives and conduct international relations. This modern approach to diplomacy leverages the internet and digital tools to communicate with global audiences, engage in dialogue, promote national interests, and address international issues. Communication. Traditional diplomacy. Government-to-government contract. Diplomat-to-diplomat contract. Public diplomacy. People-to-people contract. Government-to-people contract. Why focus on digital diplomacy? Utilizing digital tools for global communication and understanding. Utilizing digital tools for global communication and understanding involves digital diplomacy, also known as e-diplomacy or cyber diplomacy. This approach uses digital technologies and social media platforms for achieving diplomatic objectives and conducting international relations. It leverages the internet and digital tools to communicate with global audiences, engage in dialogue, promote national interests, and address international issues effectively. Impact of digital diplomacy on traditional methods? Digital diplomacy, or e-diplomacy, has modernized traditional diplomatic practices by using digital tools, like social media for international relations. It enables quicker engagement with broader audiences, real-time responses to global events, and more transparent communication. Big data and social media analytics assist in monitoring global trends for informed decision-making. How can digital diplomacy raise awareness? Digital diplomacy plays a crucial role in crisis management and conflict resolution by enabling real-time communication and collaboration among international actors. It helps disseminate information quickly, fosters transparency, and allows for rapid response to emerging issues. Through social media and online platforms, diplomats can engage with global audiences, build support for conflict resolution initiatives, and counter misinformation. This digital engagement strengthens diplomatic efforts, leading to more effective and timely interventions in international crises. Examples of digital diplomacy. Twitter diplomacy. Many world leaders and diplomats use Twitter to communicate directly with foreign publics and governments. For example, former U.S. President Donald Trump frequently used Twitter to announce policy decisions, comment on international affairs, and engage with other world leaders, sometimes bypassing traditional diplomatic channels. The digitalization of consular services. Countries have increasingly digitized their consular services, enabling citizens to access services online. For instance, Estonia, a leader in digital governance, offers e-residency, a digital identity for non-Estonians that allows them to access Estonian services like company registration and banking without being physically present in the country. This service enhances Estonia's global influence and economic diplomacy. Digital humanitarian diplomacy. The United Nations has utilized digital platforms to coordinate and deliver humanitarian aid during crises. For example, during the Syrian civil war, digital tools were used to map conflict zones, coordinate relief efforts, and communicate with affected populations. Social media and messaging apps also played a role in advocacy and awareness-raising campaigns, helping to mobilize international support and resources for humanitarian efforts. Examples of digital diplomacy. Advantages of digital diplomacy. Enhanced communication. Facilitates direct and efficient communication with global audiences. Cost-effective engagement. Reduces costs by utilizing virtual tools for meetings and negotiations. Global reach. Leverages social media to communicate with a diverse and widespread audience. Transparency. Promotes transparency by making information and diplomatic activities more. Inclusivity. Encourages broader participation in diplomatic processes by allowing more people to be involved. Challenges for digital diplomacy implementation. Cybersecurity risks. Digital platforms are susceptible to hacking and cyber attacks, which can compromise sensitive diplomatic communications and data. Misinformation and propaganda. Without face-to-face interaction, messages can be misinterpreted, leading to misunderstandings and potential conflicts. Digital divide. Not all countries have equal access to technology, which can create disparities and hinder effective communication. Loss of personal interaction. Excessive dependence on digital tools can reduce the importance of traditional diplomatic skills, such as negotiation and personal rapport. Over-reliance on technology. The abundance of online information can make identifying credible sources difficult, potentially resulting in misinformation. Climate diplomacy. Climate diplomacy. What is climate diplomacy? Climate diplomacy refers to the diplomatic efforts and negotiations between countries to address climate change issues collectively. It involves discussions on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, adapting to the impacts of climate change, and fostering international cooperation on environmental policies. Climate diplomacy aims to build consensus, promote sustainable practices, and achieve global agreements to combat climate change and protect the planet. Simulate diplomacy practices. International cooperation. Climate diplomacy involves countries working together on a global scale to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, mitigate the impacts of climate change, and transition to a more sustainable future. Negotiation and diplomacy. Climate diplomacy requires skilled negotiators and diplomats to navigate complex discussions on climate-related issues. Diplomats engage in dialogues, conferences, and summits to find common ground, resolve differences, and build consensus on climate action. This diplomatic process is essential for fostering collaboration and ensuring that countries uphold their commitments. Promotion of renewable energy. Climate diplomacy also involves promoting renewable energy sources and technologies as a key solution to reduce carbon emissions. Countries engage in diplomatic efforts to share knowledge, best practices, and technologies related to renewable energy. For example, the International Solar Alliance is a diplomatic platform that aims to promote solar energy deployment worldwide through cooperation among solar resource-rich countries. Simulate diplomacy practices. Examples of climate diplomacy. The Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is an international treaty that aims to tackle climate change. It was adopted in 2015 and signed by 196 countries. Its main goal is to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with efforts to keep it below 1.5 degrees Celsius. The agreement includes provisions for countries to set their own targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and to regularly report on their progress. It also includes provisions for financial assistance to help developing countries adapt to climate change and transition to clean energy sources. Climate Action Summit. The Climate Action Summit is a global event where world leaders, policymakers, and stakeholders come together to discuss and take action on climate change. It serves as a platform to showcase commitments, initiatives, and partnerships aimed at advancing climate goals. This event is held yearly, known as COP. Last one took place in Dubai, known as COP28. The upcoming one is in Baku, Azerbaijan. Renewable Energy Partnership. Renewable partnerships refer to collaborations between governments, businesses, and organizations to promote the use of renewable energy sources such as wind, solar, and hydropower. These partnerships play a crucial role in accelerating the transition to a low-carbon economy and reducing reliance on fossil fuels, thus contributing to the goals set out in the Paris Agreement. Advantages of climate diplomacy. Global cooperation. Climate diplomacy fosters international collaboration, allowing countries to work together to combat climate change. This cooperation is crucial because climate change is a global issue that transcends national borders and requires a coordinated response. Resource sharing. Through climate diplomacy, countries can share knowledge, technology, and financial resources to mitigate and adapt to climate change. This collective effort helps developing nations access the tools they need to address environmental challenges. Economic opportunities. Diplomacy around climate issues can lead to the development of green technologies and industries, creating new economic opportunities. Countries that engage in climate diplomacy can benefit from investments in renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure, and other green sectors. Conflict prevention. Climate change can exacerbate existing social, economic, and political tensions, leading to conflicts over resources like water and arable land. Climate diplomacy helps to address these issues proactively, reducing the risk of conflict by promoting sustainable development and resource management. Enhanced global stability. By addressing climate change through diplomatic efforts, countries can contribute to global stability. Mitigating climate impacts can prevent mass migrations, food and water shortages, and other destabilizing effects of climate change, leading to a more secure and stable world. Challenges of climate diplomacy. Differing national interests. Countries often have conflicting priorities, which can hinder progress in climate diplomacy. For example, some nations prioritize economic growth and may be reluctant to adopt stringent environmental regulations that could slow down industrial development. Implementation challenges. Even when agreements are reached, enforcing and implementing climate commitments can be difficult. Lack of compliance and accountability can undermine the effectiveness of international agreements, especially if there are no binding enforcement mechanisms. Inequitable impacts. Climate diplomacy can sometimes lead to agreements that disproportionately benefit wealthier nations while leaving poorer countries with less support. Developing nations may struggle to meet the demands of climate agreements without adequate financial and technical assistance. Slow progress. Diplomatic negotiations can be slow and cumbersome, often taking years to reach agreements. This slow pace can be frustrating given the urgency of the climate crisis, delaying necessary actions to mitigate climate change. Political instability. Changes in government or political leadership can disrupt ongoing climate diplomacy efforts. New leaders may reverse or undermine previous commitments, leading to inconsistency in international climate policies and weakening global efforts to address climate change. The role of climate diplomacy practitioner. Driving innovation and investment. Enhancing transparency and accountability. Influencing policy and regulation. Facilitating global collaboration. Raising public awareness and engagement. Significance of digital diplomacy for climate diplomacy. Digital diplomacy and climate diplomacy is here. The similarities are as following. Global scope, both involve international efforts and impact multiple countries. Urgency, both address issues that require immediate and sustained action. Interconnected issues, both involve complex, interrelated factors, e.g., economic, social, environmental. Long-term impact, both aim for long-term benefits and sustainability. Collaboration needed, both require cooperation among various stakeholders and nations. Similarities between digital diplomacy and climate diplomacy. As we saw previously in the data given that explained what both digital diplomacy and climate diplomacy is, here the similarities between them like in the following. Global scope, both involve international efforts and impact multiple countries. Urgency, both address issues that require immediate and sustained action. Interconnected issues, both involve complex, interrelated factors, e.g., economic, social, environmental. Long-term impact, both aim for long-term benefits and sustainability. Collaboration needed, both require cooperation among various stakeholders and nations. Applications for digital and climate diplomacy. Policy advocacy. Clean energy. Climate awareness. Disaster response. Business. Sustainable development. Foundation of the Center for Climate Diplomacy. Climate and environmental disasters. Environmental Support Initiative under Center for SDGs. Total amount 50 million rupees. Awareness. Rehabilitation. Food/clothing. Shelter. Adaptation. Resilience. Development of the Center. A journey of achieving sustainability and climate resilience. 1. Social activities for socio-economic development. 2. Center of Pakistan and International Relations. 3. Human Security and Human Rights. 4. Center for Sustainable Development Goals. 5. Gender Equality and Women Empowerment. 6. Digital Diplomacy. 7. Climate Diplomacy. Policy Advocacy. The Power of Innovation. Human Resource Development. Youth Engagement Programs. Startup Pakistan. E-Women. Hum Sabka Pakistan. Digital Certificate. Climate Awareness. Fostering public support for climate policies. Driving behavioral change. Empowering grassroots movements. Enhancing international collaboration. Supporting climate education and research. Smart and sustainable cities. Accelerating global climate goals. Promoting technological innovation. Facilitating investment and financing. Enhancing policy and regulatory frameworks. Increasing public awareness and engagement. Roadmap of Climate Resilience Implementation Plan 2.0. Planning and design policy by reviewing existing policies. Dialogue forum with key stakeholders. Recommendations to policymakers. Awareness campaign for adaptation. Collaborations with implementing partners and AMP donor agencies. Sustainable Future. Collaborative action. A sustainable future requires collaborative action across all sectors of society, including governments, businesses, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, communities, and individuals. By working together, these diverse groups can leverage their unique strengths and resources to address complex global challenges such as climate change, resource depletion, and social inequality. Embarking on the journey. A role to play in creating a sustainable future. Start by taking small steps and inspiring. Build a thriving future for generations to come. In conclusion remarks. Transparency and authenticity. Transparency and authenticity play crucial roles in the realm of digital and AMP climate diplomacy. By leveraging digital technologies and social media platforms, governments and diplomats can engage with global audiences in real time, fostering transparency in communication and decision-making processes. Authenticity is key in building trust and credibility in digital diplomacy efforts, as genuine interactions and truthful representation of national interests are essential for successful engagement. Upholding transparency and authenticity in e-diplomacy can enhance mutual understanding, facilitate cooperation, and strengthen international relations in an increasingly interconnected world. Crisis management and communication. In times of crisis, effective communication is crucial for managing the situation and minimizing negative impacts. Clear and timely communication can help provide guidance, reassurance, and support to those affected. It is essential to have a well-defined crisis communication plan in place to ensure that accurate information is shared with all stakeholders promptly. Transparent and empathetic communication can help maintain trust and credibility during challenging times. We all are diplomats. Climate change affects us all, making us unintentional diplomats through climate diplomacy. Factors causing climate change, such as greenhouse gas emissions and deforestation, impact our environment and communities globally. As individuals, we can contribute to climate action by promoting sustainable practices, supporting renewable energy, and advocating for policies that combat climate change. Our collective efforts are crucial in addressing this pressing issue. Concluding remarks. The need for equitable and inclusive solutions. In reviewing the vast array of strategies and insights discussed, it's clear that climate diplomacy is not just about environmental